on and make a presence, especially with, one with such iconic actors. But what you just did on Ozark season 3 is like one of the greatest television performances I've ever seen in my life by an actor. And I mean, I was giving you a standing ovation at the end, man. I mean, I, I'm just so speechless of how amazing it was. And I followed your career for a long time. Oddly enough, I discovered you because my doctor always has soaps on, and I've been going to him for like 10 years. And I was like, this pretty motherfucker can act. Like, look at him. And then I love Alexa Fogel, man. So I watch any project she does. And then when he did Banshee, I love that show. I really liked what Cinemax was doing as long as it lasted.
Yeah.
And you're amazing on that, man. So I've been rooting for you since day one, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, man. It means a lot. But before we dig in, start at the beginning. You grew up in New Jersey?
Yeah, I did. I grew up in a town called Howell, New Jersey. Yeah, and so I went to Howell High School, which is a public high school, and I ended up auditioning for a school play. I was sort of like dragged into it. It was Pirates of Penzance. It was a
No way.
Yeah, the audition is you have to sing and dance, and I'm like, I can't do either, and I couldn't, and I still can't. But it was okay enough to get a little chorus role,
Yeah.
But it was important because the guy directing the show is a guy named Steve Kazikoff, and Kazikoff was the acting teacher in the performing arts program in the school that would start sophomore year. So it was like a regular school that had this special performing arts wing that was 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So there I was in 9th grade, and I met this man, and I'm like, who is this guy? He's incredible. And I auditioned for the program and got into it, and he really became my mentor and a teacher who really changed my life. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I met him, and then I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and never doubted it.
So Penzance was your first kind of artistic calling? That's amazing. Wait, was cinema, a part of your childhood at all? Like, were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh my God, I loved watching movies. My dad. I mean, some of my favorite memories with my dad are us watching some old TV shows when I was a kid. The Incredible Hulk with
the best.
Bill Bixby.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast it was Ron Perlman, right?
Oh yeah, Ron Perlman. Yeah.
I mean, like just so many of those things, watching old movies, Westerns, John Wayne, So I grew up sort of enamored of TV shows and movies and I guess certain kinds of things, like the things that I've always sort of gravitated to the most are probably things that I would have watched back then with my dad.
That's amazing. And then were your parents artists at all, or?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how did they take it when you're like, Mom, Dad, I want to go to this school?
Yeah, no, I have to say they were and always were extremely supportive, which was really beautiful. I know that that's not always the case, but they were both very supportive and always were. I remember having a conversation with my dad maybe when I was like 23 or 24. I'd been on the soap, won an Emmy, like things seemed that they were going okay enough, had some money, and we were having a conversation one night and that question occurred to me, and I put it to him. I was like, how did you, my dad's this big 6'4", he played basketball in college. Wow. He was like,
he's an athlete.
A real dude, and I was like, how did you agree and never once question me going to college to get an acting degree?
Yeah. You went to Rutgers, right?
I did. I went to Rutgers. They have a conservatory program there called Mason Gross School of the Arts.
It's pretty incredible. Gandolfini came out of there, didn't he?
Well, I think actually Gandolfini went to Rutgers, but not the acting conservatory.
Got it.
Funnily enough, because he's like an incredible actor, obviously. No, I don't think he actually went to that program, although he went to Rutgers, and then when he was in the city, if I know it correctly, he studied with some of the teachers who teach at Rutgers in their studios.
Got it.
But I don't believe that Gandolfini was in that program. I don't think so.
So when you were in high school, was there a moment of like, am I really, because I went to NYU Tisch for acting, like, was there a moment of like, am I really gonna study this, or did you know in high school that this was your calling?
No, I knew, and again, this is all the credit to Mr. Kazakov.
Yeah. Is he still alive?
He is.
What's his name?
Steve Kazakov.
Steve Kazakov. Shout out.
Yeah.
Luckily,
I just went and saw him a few months ago. I went back and worked with his kids, worked with his students now. I went back to the high school and, got to see him and got to talk to the kids and try and, give them any good advice I might have, although that's questionable. But yeah, no, he was, he was very strict. He was very disciplined. He was extremely passionate. He was very fair, but he took it so seriously. And there was the fact that he took it so seriously, looking back now, I realize made me think, oh, this is worth doing. You could spend your life doing this. Like, you could work hard and do this thing that is a serious thing to do. And I'm so grateful that was my first experience with it, rather than some kind of like flimsy, oh, we're just kind of here to have fun. And because then I think that your brain sort of associates it with that. And for me, it's always been like, to Kazakov's credit, like, work ethic. This is important. You do it. And I'm grateful for that, because I feel like that's one of the things that helps you over time.
Totally, man. And when you were at Rutgers, was it imperative to you that you really focused on your training? Because I know New York is just a stone's throw away, and that calling to audition can hit a lot of actors. Or were you more concerned with like, I'm here to get an education?
No, just there to learn. I mean, the program didn't really want you going out and auditioning and splitting your focus until right at the end, and that was fine with me. We had classes starting early in the morning, going into the night, and then you might be in a play, and then we had access to black box theaters. So, I mean, pretty much every night we would rehearse the whatever play we were in for the school until 11, and then at 11 we would go to the black box theaters and rehearse the plays that we wanted to do.
No way!
Until 2 in the morning, and then we had class the next day at 8 a.m. It was like
Juilliard, dude.
It was heaven, and it was the fun feeling of like, yeah, we're the acting school in New Jersey. We're not NYU. We're not.
Yeah, fuck those
like, I grew up in Jersey, so it's extra like, yeah, that's where I went to school. But no, it was amazing. We're writing our own plays. We're directing our own shows. Like, it was an amazing time to like learn how to be an artist. Like, learn how to, even if you can't do all the things, like, really appreciate the fact that it's a team sport. Like, you need the lighting, you need the sound, you need the script, you need the direction. Yeah.
And that's amazing. So then, was there a showcase at the end built into Rutgers, or?
Yeah.
There was. Wow. Even NYU doesn't have that. That's amazing.
Really? Yeah.
And so were you able to get rep through that?
I was. Yeah. I
Wow.
sure was. Yeah. God, feels like a different lifetime now, but
yeah. And then coming out, were you doing the co-star guest star circuit?
No. Well, the first job I got was guiding light. So
that was the first thing.
That was my first job. Yeah.
Wow. And how did it feel to get that? Like, was that, I know it can be a blessing and a curse to kind of like have your looks because you're this leading man, but then you can get trapped in a lot of roles like that. Like, were you excited? Was it thrilling?
Yeah, no, I was very excited. It was again, it was an excellent opportunity to learn. At Mason Gross, we were working on plays, we were doing theater, and I loved that, and I still love it. But we weren't working in front of a camera, So all of a sudden you get this job on Guiding Light, and for 2.5 years I'm getting paid money, which I've never had money before, and I'm getting to work as an actor, which is very fulfilling. And also I'm learning how to be in front of a camera. Now, granted, the way they shoot soaps is different than the way they shoot everything I shoot now, but still, like, to have a sense of how a set works and how the cameras are moving and how the lighting is working, and to be able to repeat things and have your lines memorized and learn how to hit marks and like get all of that in your body. It was kind of this wild opportunity to get paid to further my education.
Yeah, it was almost like you went to film school.
Yeah, I mean, and I worked with some really awesome actors who I looked up to a lot, and they were also great people, and so I got to learn a lot. I was asking a lot of questions. And I had some great people who sort of stepped up as mentors. And again, those early days are so formative because you're looking around, the young actor, you're like, how should I behave? How are we going to do this? And in that regard, I think I've been very fortunate to have some great role models.
Yeah.
Good work ethics, who treat people the right way. And that's the way you want to be, but when you're young, you're sort of looking around trying to learn how to be.
You were really curious.
Yeah, well, you can't help but be curious. It's a new job. It's a whole new thing. You go from college to being on television, and also you're the new person there. Also, I was only 22, so there's the sort of the youth and the inexperience, and yeah, it was a really positive, nurturing environment for me.
Wow, and you did like almost like 200 episodes, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because I remember I'd go to my doctor's office, I'm like, there he is. It's like the only time I watched them. No disrespect to subs, but that's awesome, man. And then when you're working in that kind of melodrama, was that a unique experience? Because I know that it can be a real balance on those sets to lean into the drama, but not to go full, retard, if you will.
Well, it was yeah, I mean, but it's also, you have to know where you are, like that I feel like that's such an important thing for actors to keep in mind, is like every job is different. So when you get a job, it's like, what is the world of this?
Yeah.
And like, I remember literally having these conversations with myself in my head back then, but it was like, right, it's a soap opera.
Yeah.
It's an opera. It's operatic. It is extremely heightened. It is not normal life. They're not trying to say it's normal life. They're called an opera.
Yeah.
It is an opera without the singing. And so if you're going to be in that style of storytelling, then you can give over to that. You can give over to the writing supports that. And so the acting needs to be in line with what the whole thing is. Like, it is a soap opera. It is heightened. It is crazy emotional stakes. It is things happening that will never happen in a regular person's life, and you're doing your best to try and say, well, if they did, maybe it would be like this. But sure, yeah. I mean, the other thing is bad acting is bad acting. There's bad acting on soaps. There's bad acting in movies. There's bad acting in plays. Yeah.
Were you working with that high school coach during this, or did I know soap operas sometimes they have on-set coaches? Did you develop a rapport with anyone else, or?
No, I've never had a coach. But I've also been fortunate that I've worked with a lot of great people who are open to talking about things. You can sort of work on scenes with the people that you're in the scenes with sometimes. Yeah, I mean, for me, selfishly, the part of the joy of all of this is to read things and think about them and break them down and have ideas and be creative. And I enjoy that process for myself, so I've never felt the need or the urge to have somebody else involved in that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then while you were shooting this, you get an Emmy. How did that feel?
Oh, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. Um, a lot of my friends and family came out. I got to take my mom as a date.
Oh,
My brother was there with me, as my other date. It was very sweet. It was exciting. Like everybody got to have a party, and it was yeah. All at that time, it felt like a big celebration. It was pretty great.
yeah, totally. And Alec Baldwin was my teacher, and he once told me, work is work. Don't be snobbish about it. And I didn't really know what he meant until recently, as I've gotten older and I've been auditioning more. When you're on a show like that, do you feel a yearning to like go do a movie or go do an episode of a television show, or were you happy just to be working?
Well, I've always been happy to be working. Always been happy to be working. Well, I wanted to do that play.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to do a play called The Subject Was Roses when I was on Guiding Light. And I had this long hair, but the subject is roses. The Subject Was Roses is this Pulitzer Prize winning play, beautiful play set back in World War II.
Yeah.
And so they were like, yeah, come do the play with us. And I had to go to my executive producer and be like, would you work around the schedule to let me do the play? And she was like, absolutely. I was like, okay, great. Second thing, I have to cut my hair.
I gotta go Peaky Blinders style.
I would need to cut my hair. And she was like, great, we'll do it on the show. And so they wrote in a scene where I cut my own hair off. And
That's
that's
amazing.
all because I wanted to go do the play. So yeah, I had a desire to do something else. And I think that's quite natural. And also working on a play is a very different experience than working on something like a soap. And
Yeah.
you're always wanting to stay sharp. You're always wanting to work out different muscles. And I was lucky because they were very supportive of me doing that.
That's amazing. And what company did the play? Was that Manhattan Theater Club?
No, it was the Penguin Repertory, which is a small theater that's up north of the city. It's run by a great man called Joe Brancato.
Okay.
And that theater has been there now for, God, 35 years maybe now. It's just this great little barn. It's called the Barn Theater. And you go
Wow.
there and you do plays, and so many great actors have been there over the years, and their season is during the summer. And yeah, it's just one of those New York magical little places that gives actors some great opportunities to learn.
That's amazing, man. And so then as I know as the rise of streaming and companies like Netflix doing original content, it kind of sent the death knell to soaps. That's kind of true, right? Or
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I think that that's probably true. Of course, there was a time back in the day where there was 13 TV stations,
Yeah.
and then
And now there's like 5,000. It's like
yeah,
Facebook's doing content, Skype's going to do content soon.
yeah.
And when you came off that, was there a period of vacancy in work, or did you go into your next thing right away?
No, there was vacancy, and it was the first time I'd had a sort of a vacancy in work and a vacancy in structure, because you're going high school, college, job. And so that was its own experience about learning not to take things personally, and learning that it is a long journey, and that there's not constant immediate gratification, and learning well, really it's getting your ass kicked a bit, and
Yeah,
realizing, everything has been sort of charmed so far, and this is the other side of that. And
totally. How did you buoy yourself during this time? What kept you going? What kept you sane? Because a
um,
lot of actors, they're in that right now. Any words of advice?
yeah, God, the
I
thing.
know. I'm sorry. That's a loaded question.
No. The thing that I just don't want to say something that I don't mean, because I know that those times can be very difficult. So, yeah, I think the thing ultimately that keeps you going is because you love it, which is why they say to you in the beginning, if there's anything else you can do,
Yeah.
go do it, because it is going to be hard. It's also, like as an actor, you are your instrument, you are your thing. Like there is no level of separation between you and the rejection, and that can be extremely difficult. And it's very brave to keep saying yes when people keep telling you no. There's nothing, it feels like you.
Yeah.
And so you have to cultivate, and this took me years because I was not good at it for a long time, but you sort of start to understand that it's not personal. And then it becomes more about you working on things and process and things you can control, and then worrying less about results, jobs, offers, blah, 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 because you never can control that. And you also don't know why sometimes things work and also why sometimes things don't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think part of the pain when you're younger is feeling like if I was just good enough, I could control all of this. And it's like,
right.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Being totally powerless, it takes a lot. Yeah. I'm sober, so I get it, man, and I'm curious then when you were out, you were probably auditioning during this time. Did you feel like there was a whole period of like you had to get to the film and TV casting directors get to know you, or do you feel like they knew you because of the soaps?
Yeah, no, you have to get these people to know you. You have to slowly over time have them stop thinking about you as the person from the soap. All things are quite natural. But then, every now and then you get to meet an Alexa Fogel, which is
the best
back then. And she's so talented and so sharp, and she works on all the coolest stuff. And I remember the first time I auditioned for her, I didn't get the job, but
do you remember what it was for?
Yeah, it was for Generation Kill.
Oh, nice. Martin Menchaca is my homie.
Oh,
yeah, he's my dude. Yeah. yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, doing that audition, and then my agents called and they were like, "Hey, she really liked you." It's like, wow, so like that meant a lot. It's always going to be a job. Sometimes it's just somebody you admire went out of their way to say like, "Hey, you're doing the right thing, not this job, but keep it up." And that's the thing, is like it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that's I think part of the mentality you have to keep going is like, it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah. And then were you ever doing like one-on-one or Actors Connection, or did you?
No, because I was fortunate enough that I had,
auditions coming to meet these people. Yeah.
To meet these people. I had agents, so yeah, no, but everybody's journey is different,
No, totally, man. And then as you got these co-star and guest star credits, was that a difficult transition from you going from like soap to that kind of melodrama to leaning into a different style of television? Because every network has kind of a different, what's on NBC isn't going to be play the same thing that's on Netflix,
Yeah. Well, each show has its own world, and then you have to understand what are the rules of that world. Like, what is the way to give over to being on Law and Order SVU versus how are you behaving if I've never been on it, but like, I don't know, one of the comedy TV shows, like all of these things are slightly different, and you still do you, and how you do your work, but you're cognizant of where you are.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And then, Banshee, obviously throwing it back, it came back your way. Alexa, did she call you for that?
Yeah. And in an audition for her and Greg Yatanis and Jonathan Tropper, and got that job, and that was so exciting, man. I mean, that show is so much fun.
Oh man, it was such a fun show.
It was like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
it. Was like
show.
It's like a graphic novel TV show.
Oh, for sure. And what a substantive character. You have this kind of reformed neo-Nazi, sorry, spoiler, who's trying to make amends and deal with, the brother who's still in the warfare of that kind of ideological, possession. And what was it like kind of living in that? Was that your first kind of reoccurring role on a show, or did you have?
Yeah. No, it was. Yeah. It was amazing. It was so much fun. That cast was, we just always hung out. It was a very friendly cast. It was exciting. The role was really cool. For Bunker, just working out a lot.
Yeah, you were amazing on that show, man.
Some muscles.
And probably 5 hours of makeup every day.
Yeah, well, those tattoos took a while for sure. Sure. That was weird. That was a weird part of that job, putting on those tattoos.
I'm sure. Couldn't go to the deli with that.
No.
That's really beautiful, man. And so that was a great time in your life then, getting that kind of going from soap to proper television to a big network.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great experience again, just like great character. I got great scenes to do. Felt like I was around really good people. Yeah.
And do you feel like that really opened a lot of doors for you then? Like being on that, like that maybe phone call started happening versus the audition thing,
Yeah, I mean, it all helps. It's all part of the journey, but sometimes it's not linear.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's not as linear as it looks on paper. I think.
Yeah. Or IMDb.
Yeah. It's easy to look at it and be like, oh, well, did that and then did that. So that led to that. And, sometimes it feels like something leads to something else. Sometimes it feels like you finish one thing and you almost feel like you're starting over or starting new in a different place. Then sometimes this thing happens and it doesn't lead to anything, but then this thing leads to something else much later. You never know who's watching or when, or to encompass all of this. I remember seeing an interview with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and I thought he said it so beautifully. I forget where he was, but he was saying that your job as the actor is just to do your best work. That you don't decide if it means a job. You don't decide what it means. You have no idea what it could mean. So like your only focus is that every time you get the opportunity to audition or do anything, that you do your best work. He's like, you think about it. You go to an audition, those people paid to rent that room for you to act.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool way. I mean, God.
And you don't think about it from that perspective. Most people don't. Yeah.
Right. And that's Philip Seymour Hoffman saying, and it's worth listening to, obviously, and it's good advice. And it's like, that's right. Like, your job is not to think you need to control where it goes, or not that you need to know. And your job isn't that you need everybody to pat you on the back or give you every job. Your job is just, I have my head down. I'm going to work as hard as I can to do my best work.
Yeah.
You just don't know where that leads.
That's amazing. And something I've talked about with like Glenn Fleshler, Shea Whigham, Morgan Spector when they're on the show is like the difference between good acting and great acting is in good acting, I'm not going to name them, but there's actors that can make a living just playing a personality, and they play that for 50 years. But great actors, no other actor in the world could play that the way you did. And that's why you're one of the best, man. Like everything I've seen you in, there's a stillness to it, and there's like this magnetic force behind your eyes, and you're one of the best in the world, man. I'm so excited for all that's about to come your way. I mean, you're just getting started, man, but I feel like it's been such an honor, because I discovered you 10 years ago, watching you blossom, and where you are now, it's like watching justice prevail, and
oh wow. Well, that means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh no, man, it's inspiring for actors like me and other ones. But I'm curious, I've only known you for 30 minutes now, but I've talked to so many actors, and obviously everyone on the show has been great, but you seem so grounded. Like a lot of actors could have come out of Rutgers, got that job, and been like, yeah, I'm the motherfucking winner. You know what I mean? I'm the guy. How did you not get caught up in the ego, celebrity bullshit? Like, how did you stay grounded?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I did at times. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's all a journey, but there is the gift of being humbled. You
Yeah.
know, it is a gift to fall on your damn face. It is a gift to not be able to get a job
Yeah.
and to understand that there is no fair. You don't deserve anything. It doesn't work like that. It's like if you need the outside validation to make your life feel like it's working, you're thinking wrong.
Yeah.
And so the gift of just falling on your face and feeling humbled and feeling maybe humiliated at times and feeling like you don't know what's happening, and then to turn that energy inward and say, like, what can I control here? Like,
Yeah.
this is going to be my life. I don't want it to feel like a roller coaster because of stupid work.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
love work. I love acting. That's why I'm doing it. Like,
Yeah.
to turn it into a torturous thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
God, this is making me want to bang my head against the wall. This is
Yeah.
the thing I
Oh,
love doing. What is it
talk to me
become?
about it.
What did it become?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. And so yeah, the gift of failure, and the gift of, like I said, knowing a little bit of success, and then knowing feeling like you're not good enough, and feeling like you can't make money, and all those things, it really makes you reevaluate how you're seeing everything. And so yeah, now I feel very grateful. I mean,
Yeah.
these jobs are incredible. Like a job like Ozark is an excellent opportunity in every dimension of excellent opportunity. You
Yeah.
know, it's a team sport. There's so much that goes into it that you can't control. Just like you can't control whether you get a job or not. There's so
Yeah.
much about what makes a job good that has nothing to do with me.
Totally.
The writing on Ozark is beautiful,
Yeah.
incredible. I loved it as a fan of the show, but reading the scripts for season 3, I'm like, this writer's room and Chris Mundy, they're incredible. This writing is so beautiful, so accurate, so moving, so funny.
Yeah.
And then you're playing your scenes with Laura Linney and
Yeah. Jason Bateman,
David,
Julia Garner. Yeah.
Janet McTeer. It's like
Yeah.
every day you go to work, it's like, who do you want to be impressed with now? And it's like, as an actor, you are better. You are a better actor when you are in a scene with a good actor. Like, they make you better, unless you're totally hopeless. Like, they make you better. And so yeah, there's so many things that go into the soup. And I don't know if that's the answer to the question you're
Oh
asking.
no,
Yes,
that's
it's an awareness of so many things happening, and it's taking the time over the years to understand what I can control versus what I can't, and trying to cultivate a sense of inner peace with that.
But before we jump into Ozark, I'm curious because I ask every actor or artist on the show, for musicians, it's tone, for actors, it's voice. When do you feel like you found your voice as an actor? Is it something you still feel like you're finding? Do you feel like you kind of found that at Rutgers? Or was that just through years of working? I know it's never done, but when do you feel like you kind of started, because you make such a distinct stamp on all your characters and you have such a beautiful voice. You really do. So I'm genuinely curious. How did that cultivate?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's definitely a culmination. I don't
Yeah.
think there is a moment, and I still feel like there's so many things I want to get better at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Me
excited
too, dude.
to totally get better at that. Um, but I have a great teacher. She's a dear friend. She's the one an actress that I was in that play, Subject of the Roses, with. And over the years, I've taken her studio class in the city sometimes
Can,
to
can
get a
you name her? Is that
yeah.
okay?
Her
Or
name's
yeah.
Deborah Hall. Yes.
Deborah what? Deborah what? What was the last
Yeah,
name?
Deborah Headwall.
Headwall. Okay,
Um,
sorry.
and she's an amazing. Oh no, it's okay.
That's amazing, man.
She's,
And
yeah, she's an amazing lady, and she would always say, "Your job as the actor is to go enrich yourself, open your heart, more, expand your mind, read things, learn things, appreciate beauty better, go to museums, cultivate, learn what you care about, and then do those things. Like, your job is to become a more complete human being. If your job as the actor is to be able to interpret what human beings are doing, then you better be taking care of yourself as a human being and feeding it and growing it. And you can never play something that's bigger than you, because you don't know what that is. So you want to make yourself as big as possible, and then so that you can come in, and so that the idea being that you have everything inside of you.
Yeah.
You could do anything, is if you can be honest and identify it. And so that's a really beautiful way, I think, of thinking about our work, which takes it out of this like nitty gritty success or not, just shallow crap that's so depressing. Like, it's just a depressing way to think or to live, and makes it kind of magical. It's like, well, if I can expand this part of myself as a human being, like, how much could I then bring into my work? And if I learn about this thing in my work, could that make me a better person? And it's bigger interplay. All the ideas are more kind of spiritual, or more they're just bigger ideas rather than the small ideas that always make us feel like crap, I think.
Yeah, totally, man. I completely identify. And then I know you did Iron Fist, but because of time, let's was that fun? I guess for the Marvel fans, was that a good job?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a blast. I had so much fun with Jess Stroup and Jess Hennick and Finn, and yeah, I mean, Ward was such a great character.
Yeah, man. Is that cool being in the Marvel universe, being a part of that? Was that fun?
That was fun, but like, in particular, I just really enjoyed playing Ward. I thought he was so wonderful, and he made me laugh, and he was such an asshole in a way that I usually am not. So it was fun to sort of lean into that and play. Yeah.
That's So let's dig in it. So how did the Ozark thing happen? Did you, because I know a lot of these bigger projects, sometimes they go under fake names and you get an audition, you don't know what you're going in for. Did you know, or did you not know?
No, I did know, and it was Alexa casting it. Alexa.
Yeah, Ozark. The best.
Yeah, and she is, and she called me in to read for this role, and there was like 2 scenes, and they were like probably scenes from like the first episode, and it was just that you would be playing Laura Linney's brother, so you didn't really know much. And I thought the writing was so beautiful, it just made sense. Like, sometimes with writing, you just can't wait to get to say it out loud.
Yeah,
the way I felt, and went in with Alexa, and we made a tape, and I suppose she sent it to Chris and Jason, and a few weeks later they called and said they wanted me to come join the show.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
And how soon, once you got down there, did you know about the arc? Like, were you aware of the mental component of Ben, or did that not come till you got there?
No, the specifics of it didn't come until I got down there, and Chris Mundy, the showrunner, called me and told me the season and told me the details, and was very generous with the information, and it was so useful. And then I could sort of go and do some research on my own, because of course at that point all the scripts aren't even written. Like, the story, but not the actual script. So it was useful to have that information from Chris and get to go work and do research. And
and let alone a character being bipolar, Tom, that's not an easy thing to tackle. So when you got that kind of seismic information, what was your process like? Did you have like a friend who's a psychiatrist? Like tactically, how did you approach achieving that?
Yeah, well, I went on the internet, I looked around, I looked at books, I looked at reviews, I looked at articles, and then I but I found a book called An Unquiet Mind. And it was written by a woman who is bipolar, but she's also a doctor who's studying mental health. So she's telling you the story of her own experience of the onset of bipolar, how it affected her work, how it affected her friendships, her intimate relationships, her family. And it's very intimate and kind of heartbreaking at times, but it's also very positive because she talks about how her friends helped her realize what was going on, and she got on lithium and she started to get control of her life back. And again, so it's like the journal aspect of the woman's journey, but it's also that same woman is a doctor who understands everything that's happening. So the book was so useful because you're simultaneously getting the sort of human experience of what that may be like, and it's different for every person, just like anything is.
Yeah,
you're getting a human experience about what that's like, and you're getting the medical the objective sort of clinical observation and information as it applies to all the things, which was an invaluable tool when it came to like, okay, if those things are all true, then how can I apply this to the script to make sure I'm doing as good a job as I can.
yeah. I mean, man, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass when I say it might be the best performance I've seen in television in 10 years. You know what I mean? It was, I mean, friends of mine who aren't even actors were texting me being like, "Hey, do you know this guy like on the season of Ozark? Like that was the best thing I'd ever seen." Like I was like, "Dude, I know. That's my dude, man. I've been watching that guy forever. I don't even know you." And I was just like, "Yes, that's my guy." Like it was incredible, dude. Like holy shit, man. I mean, how did literally having a character that's two polars, how do you find that balance without going too far to the other? Because a lot of actors, I'll just be honest, they could overdo it, and you didn't. You found the nuances of both and made it so grounded. Like I think my favorite scene in that season is where you're talking to the cab driver. Like I love that scene. Like what an episode opening.
Yeah, well, again, it's so much of that, in my opinion, is the writing.
Yeah.
No, because the writing is God. I mean, the writing is the notes. The writing is the composition. The writing is you sit down at that piano. Yeah, maybe you're playing the keys, but the writing is the music. Like it's the writing.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Like to me, the writing is so important, and it always is. And I am such a huge fan of good writing, and it makes all the difference as an actor when there's just beautiful, skilled writing by talented writers. It's a joy to do. It makes you better. It helps you make better decisions. It's more clear. And I thought all of the writing on Ozark was excellent. And I truly just felt like if I showed up prepared and basically made sure I stayed out of the way,
Yeah.
it would be okay.
Yeah.
I actually had that conversation with Jason Bateman early in the season, and we sat down at some point. He's like, you're doing really good. How is it going for you? And I said to him, I just think the writing's so beautiful. I just don't want to mess it up. Like there's nothing to add. I just want to let the writing come through me. And he said, yeah, I think that's the right way to think about it, and it's true. It's like when you have good writing, it is a real gift. And then you want to be in service of it, not trying to like commandeer,
Yeah, man, it was my favorite performance since March in season one as Russ. And what was it like when you got in there to like, I can't imagine, any actor who gets a job is lucky, but an actor who gets a job with two of the biggest actors, 3, 4, 5 of them, and Sophia, Julia, Laura, Jason. Was it overwhelming, or you kind of come in there just quietly, or do you guys have a table read and that's where the rapport is built?
Yeah, I mean, I always come in with a feeling of respect when you come into anyone else's show. I mean, if there's a show that's still on TV, then that means a lot of people put in a lot of work, and I have a lot of respect for that. And then you add to that it's Ozark and it's a successful show that people love, and I always feel like you're being invited into someone's home,
Yeah.
so show up respectful and prepared and wanting to understand what you can add rather than what you can take. And that being said, I got there, and all of these human beings are just so lovely.
Yeah, I was looking at your Instagram. It looked like you had the best time in the world.
They're just cool. They're just so nice and friendly. Like Julia reached out to me, made me feel welcome. Laura, the first day I met her, gave me a hug, and we were talking, and I'm like, this is Laura Linney. You know what I mean? Like, this is Laura Linney. Like, I've been a fan of Laura Linney forever, and she's so amazing. And she was just, it just put it aside so quickly because of her warmth and her connecting with me as a human being. And Jason was the same way, just so funny and easy and kind, and it just immediately puts you at ease, you know. And then you're like, okay, this is safe. I'm safe. I feel very welcome, and so I can try and do the best job I can do, and that's a credit to all of them. Not every job is like that, you know.
Yeah, I know it's not, and I think that's why it was so hard for the audience, you know, to say goodbye to Ben. You know, like I think in episode 10 we were all hoping that, you know, he would be in Knoxville and there'd be a scene and we'd be like, oh, thank God. But man, you know, I know sometimes the writing dictates that characters have to go certain ways, and it was really hard, man, for, you know, as a viewer to let go. Was that hard as a performer to let go of Ben?
No, I mean, I thought it was so beautifully written that when I read it, I was moved. But
it must have been cool being with Laura Linney for like 5 days in a car.
It was the best. It was like crazy. I get to say beautiful writing with Laura Linney and have Alex Sakharov direct and everybody else there. There are moments when all of it is very worth it. It's always worth it, but there are moments that are really special that you cherish those. But yeah, sorry. What were we saying?
We're just getting giddy, bro. But that's awesome, man. And so that was that you guys did that over the summer. It looked like it was summertime.
Yeah. Filmed down in Georgia, and I guess we filmed like May to October.
Got it.
Yeah.
That must. Oh man, it looked awesome. And then you got David Fincher's project coming up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going from the best in the world to the best in the world, man. You're going to take over, man. I'm so glad I got you before I had to go through 22 channels of CAA.
No CAA. I'm very happy.
Soon enough, man. You're going to have an Oscar and a Globe and an Emmy. I can feel it. That was obviously a dream come true. That's one of the masters of filmmaking. That's an actual, in my opinion, genius. And he was very funny and intelligent and passionate and just like a wonderful human being to meet. I got to work with Gary Oldman, which is my childhood sort of acting heroes, you know. Yeah.
So yeah, this you know, it's just a very good year.
Yeah, dude, it's going back to what I said earlier, man. It's justice prevailing, man. You're humbled and you're out of this world talented, man. And I'm just like, I'm so impressed, and I'm just so grateful for watching you as a performer, because like, you know, the best artists steal, man. I'm just stealing everything from you. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. You've been so kind about all this. I really appreciate.
Oh no, man! I mean every word of it, man. I'm so excited for you. Do you I don't know if you can talk, but can you have any clues about what's next other than the Fincher project, or?
Yeah, don't know. Obviously, for obvious reasons, things are all on pause right now.
Yeah. Are you doing okay during this time?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm isolating. I'm grateful that I can isolate and not worry about too much. My family's healthy. The folks I know who are a bit older, I check in on them and they're doing good. So thank God everybody's healthy and safe right now that I know. I know a lot of people aren't. It's heartbreaking what's happening in New York City right now.
Yeah, I'm here, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's surreal and it's just breaks my heart. And, you know, just trying to find relief organizations to donate to, trying to reach out to all the people that you do know. I feel like if everybody was reaching out and helping the people that they know, then everybody will be mostly taken care of. And then there's some really good organizations that help the people that maybe don't have someone to reach out to them. So yeah, it's a time for gratitude, and it's a time for community,
Yeah.
thing. And
Are you still a New Yorker, or are you on the West Coast?
yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So right now that's I mean,
Would you do theater again if it came your way?
of course, yeah. I've all throughout have gotten to do plays and theater. It's been a few years now, but yeah, I love theater. I love it. And
I'd love to see you on stage, man. I'm gonna be there. Foghorn in the air. Once we can go again.
Yeah, hopefully we can find a good play and make that work. But yes, I love being on stage. But
well, final two questions, my brother. First I gotta ask, what's inspiring you? I know right now it's pretty bleak times for everyone. Is there, it can be a piece of music, a book, a film, what's keeping you inspired?
yeah, there's God, I'm always reading.
Sorry, I know that's a loaded question.
I'm always reading some things simultaneously. God, what is inspiring me? I mean, honestly, some of the things that have been most inspirational to me lately have been watching Governor Cuomo talk. I just think I think it's really impressive to see that kind of leadership in a time of crisis. And I know this is hard and we don't know where it's going or don't have all the information yet, but yeah, to see someone step up and lead with authority and with grace and with compassion and strength is really beautiful. I mean, that's something that's kind of resonated with me in these uncertain times, and knowing how much fear people have. To see someone step up and lead like that is very beautiful.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Beautiful answer. And final one, for the actors that are out there that are just like a young Tom coming out of Rutgers, wide-eyed, maybe moving to LA or moving to New York and have no idea how to navigate this thing, how to, do whatever. Any advice to them? Words of wisdom?
I think the only advice I could give that's useful across all spectrums is, and it's a cliche, but I guess it's a cliche reason.
It's okay.
Just be true to yourself. Just understand yourself and honor that and make that your work, make that your mission. And it's a lifelong mission, but make it your job to understand yourself and then to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself, and to express yourself as you. Don't compare yourself to other people. The way you're going to do it is going to look differently than somebody else. Somebody else might be having success sooner than you. Doesn't mean that they're better. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It might just mean that your career is going to be a different thing later. Like everybody is on such an individual journey. And I know for myself that when I've tried to compare or act as if comparison is even useful in the past, for me, it's caused so much pain. I think it causes a lot of people pain when they do it. Yeah. And on top of the fact that it causes pain, I believe it is literally bad information. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually mean anything. And yet we torture ourselves.
Totally. It's just building up resentments and torture.
Yeah. And it's acting as if all things are equal, and they aren't. You are your own individual being, just like the other person is their own individual being. You've come from a different place and you're on a different journey than they are. And to try and compare, it's just so messy and so futile. And all it does is, I think, cause pain. And so my advice would just be like, you do you. Like, you worry about yourself and you learn about yourself and you honor yourself and you represent yourself as you. And that's okay. Like, people will catch on to that and gravitate towards that and respond to that better than anything else you could do in trying to please or trying to be like that one or blah, 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 blah. It's like,
Oh man, it's beautiful, man. Well, dude, this was one of my favorite interviews, man, and I'm so grateful for you taking the time during these crazy times to come do this with me, and it means so much. And let's do it again in studio when this is all over on the Fincher project, brother.
I would love Ryan, thank you so much, brother. I hope you're doing well, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Tom Pelphrey, thank you so much, man. It's an honor to watch you get to shoot out to Jupiter, bro. Enjoy the ride. Love you, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, much love, dude.
Bye, brother.